So Ecuador works a bit differently than the other destination countries that Latitude offers in that you have a split placement. So you have one placement in the morning and one placement in the afternoon that makes up 5 days of your week. So my morning placement was at a daycare called Perpetuo Soccoro in Cuenca. And I started at 8:30 in the morning until about midday or 12:30. And I worked with a class of 18 to 24-month-olds, which were crazy fun and just crazy in general. And it was really, really great. There were a whole bunch of, the ages range from about 10 months old to about 4.5, 5. So it was a really, really awesome placement, and all the teachers and all the kids made it like really fun. They were really friendly and awesome. So at the daycare, Perpetuo Socorro, I would arrive at about 8:30, and by that time the kids were coming in, and then we would go off to breakfast. So the kids would have, the breakfast ranged from day to day, but I would just basically be involved in making sure they ate all of their food, feeding them for the younger ones who sometimes need a little bit of help, and then cleaning them up at the end. Often it was quite messy, especially if it was something like porridge or yogurt. It just went everywhere. And then we would usually spend the morning outside. They had various playgrounds, so the kids would kind of just roam free and play around, and we would just have to keep an eye on them and make sure they stayed out of mischief. Then they had a fruit snack, so that was, in between morning tea. It was kind of like a morning tea thing, and so they would have that, and then that would involve more cleaning up. And then we would get out some games, so maybe puppets or like building blocks, various things that they would sit around and play with, and I would just kind of play with them and just sit around and just be with them really. And then lunchtime involved like a soup to start with, which was pretty messy a lot of the time. And then they'd have a main meal of some kind of, usually chicken, and then rice or potatoes and some other vegetables. And then they had some juice, and then after lunch they would all go to sleep, which sometimes was very challenging, but yeah, they were usually pretty good at it. So we would close all the curtains, and they would lie down on their little beds, and you would kind of lie or sit with them, and try and get them to sleep. And sometimes they took forever if they were really hyper, but they were usually pretty good. And then, of course, during the day, I would, be changing nappies and wiping snotty noses and all kind of fun things like that. But it was great. So one of the more challenging aspects of working at Perpetuo Socorro was definitely just having to deal with a bunch of about 18 to 24-month-olds. They were usually pretty cheeky, and I guess a lot of my Spanish now is imperatives. I learnt a lot of instructions and demands, come here, sit here, don't do that, those kind of things. And then of course you got to do the things that I guess every kid has. So, kids would come in with stomach bugs and they would be vomiting everywhere. So you've got to deal with that. And I was in the class where the kids were kind of being toilet trained, so not all of them had nappies, and that was pretty new to some of them. So of course you got to deal with the consequences of that. But I mean, all in all, it was great. It was a bit icky, of course, but it's life, isn't it?